Hi, Marvina.
Hi, Renee, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I cannot complain.
Oh, yeah. Here we are, mid-October. It's lovely out there, isn't it? I love the fall.
It is. I
Yeah.
and then I thought the fall was rolling around, and then summer said, "Ah, I'm not finished yet." And then it came.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Hey, I like the summer too, but I'm ready. I'm ready for fall."
Yeah. Yeah. I think the older you get, the more you dislike summer. You know what I mean? It was hitting mid 90 and I'm going, this is too much. It's too much. So
We've been, we've had some really hot summers though. We've had some hot days this year.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just real. I decorated, got my house with the fall decorations, and
Okay.
I'm loving it. So it's been nice. Yeah,
Nice. I haven't done that. Yeah, I probably won't.
yeah,
And I'm just saying because then after I decorate, then I got to take it down. I mean, I'll be doing good to start Christmas decorating after Thanksgiving. So,
yeah,
and I like seeing everybody else's fall decor.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. Well, we thought we'd talk today. When we were putting this together, I thought about something you had said a couple of times on some of our podcasts.
Uh-huh.
And it really kind of started to strike me. You've said people are watching,
Mhm.
and I thought that was really important for us to understand and realize in our faith walks that people are watching. And
Right.
they're not watching for perfection. They're looking for authenticity.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes we think we've got to be perfect to show Christ's nature, but that's not true at all. We have to be authentic.
We have to be.
And right, right. And so I just wanted to kind of touch on that just a little bit. People are watching, and it really is important for us to understand, because
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but a lot of times I don't care if people are watching. I've noticed, especially when I'm driving, I don't like people when I drive, you know, and so it's important. I think we lose track of that, and even like you say, I think you've said before, family members,
Yes.
friends are
Yeah.
all looking. It doesn't have to be, you know, we say the world, but
Mhm.
let's even shrink it down into just our circles, you
That's
know.
and it's funny you mentioned that because God has really been dealing with me um with that. Sometimes we overcomplicate things, right?
Mhm.
Like and especially if you've grown up in the church because you've seen these dynamic preachers and teachers and you know at the revival where they're just able to move the crowd, right? And sometimes I think we compare ourselves to others when sometimes God is like, I didn't tell you to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Who told you? We just overcomplicated. We think that everything has to be perfect. Like you said, everything has to be tied up pretty. But what I'm also finding is, and I think it's really a shift in the church, in the body of Christ, we're all looking for authenticity now. I
right.
am, and I always have been, we always have been, but I think that there is really a shift, and those that are unbelievers or those that are even all of us, and because I don't want to make a difference, because we're all trying to get this thing right, we're all trying um to live the way Christ would like us to live, but sometimes all we got to do is do it. That's it. But we do have to be authentic, because you can't, sometimes we forget how we felt, you know,
Hmm.
or how we feel. Like, how can someone direct you on something to do, right? Or
Hmm.
direct me on something I should not do? But you're the hook. Like, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You know,
Yeah.
so it does, people do watch, and they're not watching, like you said, to trip you up, or it's how we learn. You know what I'm saying? Um, Actions speak louder than words. And so we forget that. I think our everyday walk is our ministry.
Right.
Sometimes we're looking for this big, God, what do you want me to do? Just follow me. That's it. It's really simple.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
follow me.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're under the conception that we have to be perfect, walk a perfect life like Jesus did, and we can't do it,
Right.
period. There's just no way. And I've been enjoying a new series, or it's been on a while maybe, called The Chosen. I don't
Okay.
know if you've seen it, but it's about Jesus and his disciples. And
Okay.
I've really been enjoying it because it shows the humanness of all of them. Of course, Christ, has a different uh, response than
Mhm.
some of his disciples would in situations. But it's very interesting to see them as human, and
Mhm.
you see the anger in some of them. You see how they get upset. You see how they're unkind. And
Right.
it's not that they weren't sincere
Mhm.
followers, it's just
Mhm.
they're human. And I think that's what we have to remember
Ex-
is we can't be perfect. We're going to walk in our humanness, but we have to be authentic in it as well, so that when people do look at us, they go, okay, I get it. I get it. We're flawed, but we can do this.
Exactly. I think that mhm. I just lost my train of thought that quickly. But what was I gonna say while you
It was really good, I'm sure.
oh, I know what it was. Um, so I think that, like, sometimes, speaking to what you were talking about, the humanness of the disciples, right? The Bible, when we read the Bible is giving us glimpses into these people's lives, right? They had a whole life outside of what we read,
Right,
right?
right.
And so a lot of what we read, it's an example of where we're striving to get. They even the disciples, you can, in the reading, they talk about them striving to get to a certain.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But like you said, think we compare. It's almost like we're trying to fit our whole life into a glimpse of their life. You know what I'm saying? There are
Mm-hmm,
certain
mm-hmm.
that they struggled with, and there are certain things there. We have to talk about the human side, because that's the only way we're going to be able to make it through. And as Christians, for us to try to um present this perfect life, it's a discredit to Christ, because then people can't see how he helps you to get through things. You know what I'm saying? And, we hear all the time, well, just pray about it, or but what does that mean? What does that
Mm-hmm,
look? You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? People are like, I get that, but what does it look like? And
Yeah.
so we have to, and so that goes back to, people are watching. They're watching because they're trying to get it right. They're trying to see, how did you get there? You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Or how did, um, if we're always, talking about people, or not being open to others, or we give this persona, like, you have, even though we say, come as you are, we give this persona like, you got to clean up some stuff though before you come. That's not
Yeah,
going to happen. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I do think we have to be careful. We have to be careful. And again, it's not like it's this difficult thing. We just simply have to follow Christ. That's all we have to do. Pray, ask
Right.
God to give us direction. Simply follow his um his example,
Mm-hmm.
right? and get out of our feelings. And I think a lot of times we say we don't care about what people think, but we do. And then that's where we try to sell this perception like our life is perfect.
Right, right. Yeah. And you know, people recognize when it's not. And I had a situation where my sister had a golden retriever. Okay. And I loved her. She was a sweet dog, stupid, but sweet. And so I would, you know, throw the ball to her all the time. And so one night, it was quite late, probably about 10 o'clock at night. And it was time for her to go out and have her last little tinkle. So I threw the ball out for her. So she'd run out and then she'd do her, you know, her little business. But as she ran, man, I hear her barking, you know, just going nuts. And then I hear this, and all of a sudden I realized a skunk is out there. So I call her back in. She's still barking. I call her back in. She comes running through the door, and she's doing one of these. So I realize, oh, the skunk got her, right? So all I'm thinking of is it got in her mouth and her eyes. So I run into the kitchen, bring her with me. I'm straddling the dog now, and I got a wet cloth.
You didn't smell her. Did you smell her?
I did not smell her. All I was worried about was that poor dog had stuff in her mouth, right?
Okay.
So I got the cloth and I'm wiping out the inside of her mouth. I'm wiping out her eyes. And so my sister comes running down the hall. She goes, "What is that smell?" And I'm going, "Oops."
Okay.
And I said, "Well, I think the dog got sprayed by a skunk." She goes, "What did you let in the house for?" And I'm going, "I didn't know she stunk." So my sister was very upset with me.
Funny. But
I'm so
sprayed by a skunk.
yeah, but it didn't click. All I saw were her eyes and her mouth.
Okay, got it. Yep.
You know, the compassion in me just went before the logic in me went. So she gets on the internet, she finds what's the best thing to do for skunk smell. So we found this recipe. She was missing 2 of the items, right? So I said, I did this, I'll go to Walmart. It's just down the street. I'll go get the items. We'll bathe the dog. So I go to Walmart and I rush through the store. I get the stuff and I'm in line. Now it's probably about 11 o'clock by now, maybe 11:30. And there's like 16 people for one cashier, right? And we're all standing there. And all I want to do is get back to the house so we can clean this dog up. Still not understanding that I stink.
Yeah.
So moving up in the line, and pretty soon a manager comes from the front of the store and he's going, "Does anybody smell that? What is that smell?" And I'm just going, "Oh, shoot." And he's going, "No, seriously, do people smell that?" And you got people going, I don't know what, you know. And so finally the guy in front of me turns around and he just looked at me and I go, "My dog got sprayed by a skunk."
He wanted to say, talking about you, right?
Yeah. So this manager would not stop. For about 5 minutes, he was trying to locate the smell, right?
Right.
But as we were planning for this, it made me think, here I was going like, you know, just like anybody else there in line in the middle of the night. But there was something that set me apart. So it can work. Yeah, yeah. So sometimes, like you were saying, we can perceive ourselves.
Yes.
But others are seeing things that don't jive. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so we have to be conscious of that we can think that we're giving the best appearance and loving, and you can go home and you know, be rude to your kids and yell at your husband and have no patience whatsoever. But when you're at church, "No, sister, go ahead before me. That's fine," you know?
Right. And that's
So
so hard. I mean, so hard. That's why it's so important for us to stay in our word and to ask God to direct us daily, because what we think is okay in our mind, or even what we don't pick up about ourselves, right? You know, always like, you know, we always give ourselves A's, when we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
our report cards, right? So we have to be open enough though to receive feedback. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I think that sometimes we get defensive, and it's one thing to not know, right? Not know that maybe I'm giving off a certain persona, right? But
Mhm.
when you, like you say, you at church, you're one person outside of your doors at home, but behind closed doors, you're a totally different person. And of course, we all put on our best face when we go out. So
Mhm.
of us are going to, I might be a little more,
Yeah.
lenient, but for the most part, because it's those that God has really put in our daily life, those are the people that we are ministering to. Those are the people that, because as we minister to them, they can minister to others, friends, or you know what I'm saying, people that God places in our circle of people. Those are the people that we're ministering to.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean, it's other believers as well, not just, you know what I'm saying? Because we all struggle and we all still have to learn from each other. And it's very important that that we see ourselves, and we try to do our best to actually love people.
Right. Right. And I think it's important once in a while to stop and think, what would people say about us and our faith walk?
Right.
Um, would they say, she was just such a kind person, but man, she would just backstab people? You know what I mean? Or she was always praying, but she was the most negative person I had ever met in my, you know what I'm saying? So you have to think about, it's kind of like the dog thing. You can look really good, uh, but you don't realize that people are seeing those things that stink.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? That are stinking up your witness or your testimony. Yeah.
You're the one who stinks, but you're looking like
Is
it's
that you?
somebody else. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the other thing is, kind of we have to be conscious of the feedback we receive. Again, you know, sometimes you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, but other people aren't going to like it. I'm not talking about those types of things. I'm talking about if you are, maybe, family members that you've been praying for, the prayer is very important, but you also now have to, because God is going to, if you're praying for their hearts to be softened or for them um to seek God, I believe, God does and will honor our prayers. We don't know when that may be. We don't know when that will happen. So it's very important that we are an example of the love of Christ.
Yeah. True. True. Yeah, and I was thinking, even with the after I got out of Walmart that night, I got in my car and realized, okay, my car stinks. Didn't realize it. And then got to my sister's, and of course I could smell it as soon as I walked in the door. And the thing is that scent, whether we had fans on or candles, it lingered, I think, for about 6 weeks. So there was about a 6-week period that my sister hated me. So um but that's the thing too, is that there are things in our life, people are watching and they see things in our life that um that impression can linger and possibly cost them their pathway to faith, their trust in God. So we have to be careful that whatever, like I say, we're not leaving something lingering that God never intended to be part of our walk or part of our our example or testimony.
Right.
So,
And I believe that God is gonna still, take care of them.
mhm,
Gonna be some stuff we're gonna have to deal with
right.
because of our choice, right? Like that,
Mhm,
you had to deal with that for 6 weeks,
yeah, yeah,
right? Because you weren't paying attention to how you were handling the dog when the dog came in, right?
yeah,
Then you got the stink all over you. Then you went to in your car and you got the stink all over the car. And then you went, you know what I'm saying, all over the house. And so we are going to have to still deal with the consequences of our choices. God is still going, I believe that God will still move in other people's lives, but what, you know, what is it that you want to show,
right.
right, in your walk? And we don't want to have, look, I'm dealing with enough stuff. I don't need any extra consequences of anything else. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that even goes for like parents with their children. What kind of example are you being? Even though you might be taking them to church every Sunday,
Hmm.
every Bible study, if you are not an example,
Yeah,
the
right,
you know what I
right.
mean? Like, because now there's other things that they have to deal with. And I just think that sometimes we just forget. I do anyway. I know that God has really been working with me to be an example to the ones that that I deal with on a daily basis. Work,
Hmm.
you know, friends and family,
Right,
uh, you want your walk to be one where they could say, I see the benefit, you know.
right.
I know in my life there's been people, and I know even growing up, I used to wonder, like, how could you be so mean? Like, you
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? Like, y- you're at church all the time. Like, how can you be so mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if we're not careful, we become those things that we hate, right? Or those things
Mhm.
that we see in other people, we become that if we're not careful, you know?
Right, right. And like you say, God is going to move. He is going to move, but we don't want our walks to impede his progress or
Right.
our failings to impede his progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a scripture, First Peter 1:5-7. Peter is writing for this very reason, to effectively reflect Jesus' divine nature. Make
Mm-hmm.
every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness mutual affection, and to mutual affection love.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things we should be exhibiting in our walk. And
Right.
nowhere does it say, it says make every effort to. It doesn't say you must perfectly add faith to,
Right.
so that again speaks to we just have this um, awareness that those are the things that are going to draw people.
Right.
That's going to be in our example, like you say, where you look at it and you go, man, that person, it makes a difference,
Right.
you know.
Right. And in a
And
world where you can be anyone you want to be, you can do anything you want to do. People are looking for authenticity.
right, right,
The world is looking for.
right, right. Yeah. And I think in the points here that I have written down, I say the world, but again, let's narrow it down.
Mhm.
When we say the world, we're talking about people around us.
Mhm.
The world is now seeking truth more
Yeah.
than ever.
Mhm.
They're searching for hope more than ever.
Yes.
People in our circles are struggling with the purpose of life and their life's purpose. And
Right.
people that we love or making eternity decisions.
Right.
And we never want our walks
Mm-hmm.
to impede his progress or his moving forward. And I
Right.
never want to be in a situation where he has to knock me out the way
Right.
because I'm interfering with what he's trying to do.
Right.
So it's again, we're human, we're going to have failings, or some of these, self-control, like I said, lately I've been driving and I haven't liked people too much, and I'm not doing anything, I'm not rolling down my window and screaming at them, but the thought in my head is, I hope you have a flat tire on the way home, you dumb jerk, um
But
so
with that, I think that's where, like, because again, we're human, we're going to have those moments.
yeah.
But it's in those moments that we say, I've had to do this, because I don't always like people either.
Yeah.
God, I just need you to help me. I know that I should not feel like this, but I do.
Yeah.
And I need you to help me
Yeah.
to get out of get out of myself.
Yeah.
And God will do that. But I think sometimes we take things lightly, and then it becomes this habit, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, of course, we're gonna all have those days. There are days, a lot of days, where I'm like, really today? Like, I
Yeah.
don't even want to talk. And it's
Yeah.
not personal, it's just whatever I might be going through or dealing
Right.
with, or I just, just don't
Yeah.
want to talk. But it's in those moments when I have to say, okay, God, I need you to use me however you need to use me, and help me to get in a place to be where you can use me. Now, this is a daily talk that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Well,
I think when people understand that, then they're not trying to, because a lot of times, and it kind of goes back to, well, not goes back to, but an example of, like when we see these influencers, right, on social media and these different things, and people are trying to attain something that is not real because they've made this thing to look like this, to come across as this, right?
right.
And we find ourselves, why is it so hard for me to reach that level? Because that is not the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a false, you know what I'm saying? It's a facade. And
Yeah.
so when we are trying to act perfect in our walk, that's what we give up. And then people are trying to attain this level of perfectness that is not there, especially, separate from Christ. You know what I'm saying? And so
Right.
I think it helps people to see some of the struggles we're going through. You know what I'm saying? What we're dealing with, because that gives people hope. Oh, I'm not the only one.
Right. Right.
Or I know she went through that, and look at her now. Like, it encourages people. It has with me in my life.
Right.
People that have shared with me and that I believe to be authentic in their walk, it has given me encouragement to keep striving, to keep moving forward. And also, the expectation is not perfect. That's the whole reason why we have to come to Christ.
Right. Right. And I think with that authenticity, it's important for us to have humility. If we don't measure up to some of these things, and we've talked about this in episodes before, if you've offended someone, if you were short with them, I've had this happen at work, and I'm not short intentionally, but I realize my mind is on something, and maybe it came across rude to that person. I'll go back and say, hey, yesterday I realized as I was going home last night, oh my goodness, so and so spoke to me, and I said I was just in a rush, and I'm surprised at how many people go, don't worry about it, Renee, I know that's not you. But still, I could have just thought, well, they know that's not me. I could have left it at that. But I think that authenticity should go hand in hand with humility, so that when you do have those situations, like you say, you're facing something and you're really struggling with it, I don't think it hurts to say to somebody, man, I know the Lord is there for me, but boy, this is a tough one. I'm having a struggle getting through this, because it does make it more attainable for them to do the walk.
Right.
They
Because we don't, the steps aren't modeled, right? Because we go to church on Sunday. It's not, you know what I'm saying? So we get the word, it's, but, and you can only fit so much information in a certain amount of time, right? And sometimes people just, they don't know what it looks like. And so for you walking a certain way in in your life, it gives people an example, and it shows them the steps of, you know what I'm saying? It helps them to articulate how they need to move forward, know?
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think when you boil it all down, there is only one source of truth and hope and security and peace that people are craving.
Yes.
And when they look at us, we have to ask ourselves, will our lives and our examples and our walks lead them to that source?
That's right.
And then going back to First Peter, these are the very things that Peter is saying will help you effectively reflect the nature of Jesus, which we're trying to bring people to his truth. So these are the things that will help reflect that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think we have to remember, on also too, on our part, like, we're praying for people in our lives. We're praying for family members. We're praying for people in our lives. There's sometimes the action that is required with that prayer is that you get yourself together and that you pay attention to the way you're moving in front of people.
Yeah. True.
And it's an authentic thing, not that you're trying to pretend. God, help me to be an example of, because I think, God puts people on our hearts, our loved ones, people that we have relationships with. We have a different empathy, I think, for people that we know, right? When we pray for them. But you're part of their community, you're part of their world, so you have to also be part of the example.
Right. Right.
To follow Christ,
Right. Right. Yeah. When we were thinking about this, when the title, All Eyes on You, I thought of that song. I think Michael Jackson was a feature on it. I can't even remember who the singer was. Do you remember that song? I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Oh, that wasn't Michael Jackson, but it was.
Wasn't he featured on the song with him?
Oh, he maybe have been, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but I thought of that song, it's like somebody's watching you. Somebody is watching you.
So and the song I thought of, because I thought of a song too.
Yeah.
It was Tupac, but it was All Eyes on Me. So it wasn't.
No.
Or maybe it was,
Oh gosh. Yeah. So yeah, just very important. People are watching, and we want to be examples of the hope that they can find.
Yes. And you mentioned humility, Renee, and that is a huge one too. Sometimes you just be humble,
Right.
Just be humble.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right, there you go. The takeaway from this is don't play with skunks. And don't stink it up.
Yeah, don't stink it up.
Oh gosh.
Honestly, that is a good one. Don't stink it up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anything else? Okay.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Okay. All right. Until next time.
Till next time.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Okay. Bye.